Good morning and thank you for joining us. This is today's live on Equa Television International. And today is Wednesday, and Wednesday, you know that we discuss relationship. And today we have a very interesting topic that even before the time, people were just sending messages, concerning the topic that we're going to discuss today, even though people are having a different, notion to it. But I believe, this the people that I have today will do justice to the program. We'll try our possible best to see that we we manage the topic very well, that someone will go home with something. And the topic that we're going to discuss today is handling high libido. Somebody will say, I see. Yeah, that is what we're going to be discussing. The reason why we are going to discuss is because the world is telling the youth different thing, also telling the married different thing. And that's why we have issues of divorce that really is not supposed to, but because the world have presented something. And then from the health department, they have something to say again. And then from the biblical angle where we stand from, that's what the Bible is saying concerning that. So which one are you to take? But before you choose one, definitely we have to x-ray all, so that we will give you an insight and narrow your decision on which one to pick. And then in the studio today, I have my lovely, beautiful sisters here. I have Prudence, and then I have Jamima.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Are we ready for the topic? Well,
Alright.
no answer.
We are.
She's nodding.
Yes,
She's ready.
I
I'm not
remember.
so sure.
I remember the nodding when somebody, children, when they are talking to somebody from the other side, and then the person is talking, and then they are nodding,
Yeah, that's what
as if
happened.
the person is looking at them. But in your own case, at least the people are seeing the nodding because it's TV
Yeah.
production.
Yeah.
Yes, and then we have a special guest, though not his first time, but it's somebody that is loaded. He was once here and he did justice to, the topic then when he came, and I believe today he's capable to give us insight from his own angle. He's somebody that is coming from the medical angle, and he's in person of Jerry.
Thank
Jerry,
you very much.
good morning.
Thank you
Good
for
to have
having
you.
me.
Good morning, Jerry.
Good morning.
Good
Welcome.
morning, guys. Yeah, once again, lovely having me again with this kind of topics.
Yeah.
Well done. well done, Equa TV. Thank you very much.
We always put you on the spot. We love
yeah.
that.
yeah, we love it. We love it.
Yeah. So just from the opening, you hear what I said. We have different write-ups out there, people speaking on this particular topic. Some people you don't even know their background. There are some that are talking from the biblical angle, but we just want someone to go home with something today, and that's
Sure.
the essence of this program today. So
Sure.
we try and see life generally from our own little understanding, and then see how we can help somebody, even if it's one person out
Sure.
there. So this topic, handling high libido. So can you just expatiate from the medical angle?
Well, the topic in itself is already expansive. But as a way of introduction, let me say, there are many schools of thought to what people will call high libido. Many schools of thought. But generally speaking, when you say someone has a high libido, it generally means the person's sexual drive, or as we say in the medical field, rather call it sexual urge, is higher than that of an average person. So if we are taking 10 people, we have like one or two that have a higher sexual tendency to bend towards having sex than the other ones. The other ones just have sex, while some they have a higher drive than others. This mostly come from a variation in hormonal level. Yeah, so it's mainly a hormonal thing. It occurs mainly in the brain. It's not a body problem. It's more a mental
So you're not
problem.
born with it.
No, no, no.
I love that. I was going to continue with the same question.
Wow,
I think
wow.
we will jot those points.
The
We will
bullets are
bombard
already
you with it
coming.
today.
5 minutes.
No,
in,
it
the
was a
bullets are already
friendly
coming.
question.
All right.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah, we're good.
The introduction.
We're good.
We'll
Yes.
come back to that.
Yes, we'll come back to that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's in generally the introduction is not much per se. It's just that the high tendency of one to have sex, the increased sexual urges, as I said again, is has to do with high hormonal level. Some people have this hormone in larger quantity in their bloodstream than others, or to better put, the brain produces this hormone in higher dosage
Mm.
in some people than in others.
Mm.
So, are you born with it? Yes. Can it be gained? Yes.
Mm.
Yes. So those are the two ways. It's either you're born that. Some people are just naturally endowed with. It's like men. I'm a man. You're a man, but you are taller than me. Have a deeper voice. Those are male attributes.
Mm.
Yeah, your brain did something with the hormones and made you like this naturally. You did nothing to add to your height or your voice. My voice is thus because these hormones were not fully released like they were in you. Doesn't make me less of a man, but just the variations. You see different men. Some have men much beards. Some have very scanty beards. So these
Some
are
don't
just
even
the-
have at all.
Some don't even have at all. Doesn't make them less of a man. It just means that your body secreted a particular kind of hormone more than some others.
Interesting.
So what about cases of low libido? They're also born with it since higher ones had that, right?
Yeah, well, there are little or less cases about low libido or low sex drive. It's a possibility. In fact, is very pronounced. Especially, it's more in women than men. Most men are just naturally sexually active, but the issue of low libido occurs mostly in women, and yeah, it's also could be born with, but it mostly occur in people that how will I put this? I don't want to go too much science on this, right? I'm trying to bring it as in simple terms. So in simple terms, I would say what do you engage in most times of the day, right? What do you engage in? Some people are more intellectually sound. Take a popular scientist like Isaac Newton. The history books has it that he died a virgin. So this was somebody that was given into physics so much so that he had little or no time to attend to his sexual needs. So it doesn't mean he wasn't born with one. It just means that the amount of attention you pay to that determines the levels at which you go sexually.
So can you say both high and low libido can result to decision?
Yes.
Like I can decide
Yes.
I want to have a high libido or a low libido.
Yes.
Then can energy
Some sort of way.
yes.
can energy level also influence that? Say I'm energetic, I can have a high one, or I'm sluggish, I can have a low one.
Okay. If I want to understand what you mean by energetic, I don't know if it's the same thing as being introverted or being an extrovert.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
something
inclusive
Okay,
with
good.
the strength level.
The strength level. Well, it doesn't really. Most people tend to think, okay, the quiet people they have low sexual drive.
They are
and
quiet all around.
They are always quiet. When they are alone, they are just by themselves, being cute. But it's most likely not the case actually, and we see people jumping here and there, going for parties or going here and there. I was this one will likely have a high sex drive, but it's not. It's really not. Matter of fact, based on studies, those people who are introverts or, as you put, having low energy, they have higher chances of high libido than even those that exert energy a lot. Reason being that the hormone. Okay, before I say that, let me come from this angle.
Okay.
There's a law in physics that says, I think it's a simple law to get. It says energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be transferred from one form to the other. right? So if I park a car, it has an energy to hit a tree down.
Mm.
But that energy is in the car, it's resting. So in physics, it's called potential energy. It's waiting for motion.
Mm.
It's energy reserved in it. There is fuel in the tank. It's made of metal. It has tires. It can move. It can go as far as 200
The engine
kilometers
is
per
good.
hour.
No
The engine is good.
dysfunction.
So those are potential energies of what this car can do.
Mm.
But how fast is it going right now? 0. Doesn't mean it cannot go.
Mm.
So that also, that car parked resting is what is in a state called potential energy. It's also on energy. So
Mm.
for the fact that it's not moving, doesn't mean it's not on energy. But the energy is potential, yet it's resting. So it's called resting energy. So that energy, the energy, when we now ignite the car and we put it on full speed and it goes and hits a tree and breaks it and knocks it down, and we say, wow, that is massive energy. That energy did not start when the car began to move. It was in it. It was inherent in it, even when it was lying dormant. It just changed form from one form to another form. So it moved from staying to hitting off a tree. So that is how energy works. You can't, after hitting the tree and it stops, it doesn't mean it is incapable of doing more damage, or it doesn't mean it's lacking energy. The energy has just moved from being a kinetic energy now, or energy in motion, to being a resting energy again. So we do not create energy, we do not destroy energy, we only transfer where it is being used. Now,
At different proportions.
at different proportions. Now, having said that, that's the light I want to look at having high libido from. So people that are more energetic, the high libido is like an energy. It's not created. It cannot be destroyed. So what do we do with that energy? So you can shift the energy from one form to another form. So some people that exercise a lot, they do not have time for maybe sex later on, because the same hormones that is used to propel your sex drive, like in men, me for instance, I play football. So most times my body is just filled with energy. You know, men in Hausa, they used to say "jinin suna tapasa."
Their blood is boiling.
Their blood is boiling. You know, a man just want to climb up a tree for no reason. He just want to hit somebody, lift up chairs. He want to do something. Is that built up energy in him? Testosterone is strong, and it's looking for expression. That's an energy. It wasn't created. It cannot be destroyed. It can only be shifted from one form to another. So you either use it to fight, climb up a tree, have sex, or go play ball.
Interesting.
Okay. It is important, you know, for us to look at it from that angle, which give us light and then give us a foundation on how you know, to handle this topic, you know, that someone out there will not feel offended, you know.
Sure.
You see, I like the illustration which you gave, you know, like a car, brand new car, you know, full of energy, but it's being packed, you know. And nowadays, in this present generation, I remember last time that we had a program here. You mentioned about how this world, we are being bombarded left, right, and center with so many things, you know, particularly the men, that you know, our eyes watch TV, is this particular jingle or that has nothing to do with women, and then you see them, you know, almost half naked. You go to market, like, let me say, in our day-to-day activities, like, you are being bombarded, and then this energy is being generated. You know, the car is just packed with the generated energy. Now we are looking at, you know, how to handle high libido. Now the world is trying to tell you that you have energy, you can use it. Use it, and they are not just telling you to just use it, but they are telling you to use it well. Maximize your time, because you are youth, you know, so that energy, use it very well. And then some people don't even have an idea of how the system, the chemistry of their body, and how it even work.
Yeah.
All they're after is what one uh, elderly person tell them, or what they read, or a movie they watch, or a short clip they watch, and then they are being driven by that.
Yeah.
In such kind of a society, and we can't say it's going any lower,
No.
because it's like it's increasing day by day. I remember those days. There are certain kind of movie you can't show.
Sure.
There are certain kind of songs you don't play. But now you see even DJs in government stations play those songs and they hype it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You remember?
Yeah.
You remember those, and you begin to wonder, where is this world going to? And then some people just pick that as an excuse, just to use that energy that is being packed.
Yeah.
How can we help someone like that?
Okay. Before you continue, I think I want to just add something to that.
Yeah.
This issue of you being bombarded with almost anything at any point in time, it goes beyond just music and movies. It also includes books. You literally can't read a novel without no crazy things. You can't watch a movie. You can rarely watch a movie with no sexual content. You can rarely listen to, in fact, music that is unpopular these days is a music that has no sexual content. Music with sexual content is what is popular. So in a scenario like that, in because this is what we are bombarded with, I think that's why a lot of times people come up to say things like, if you are gunning for someone to stay sexually chaste, then you are prude. Okay, so in that kind of scenario, you don't want to sound prude. and you also don't believe in just going ahead and being loose. I'm trying to be careful using that word though. But that's what you're in a fix, especially for the young people. That this is a battle that goes on.
Yeah.
This is what the society says is acceptable and the church says it's no.
Yeah.
So in that kind of scenario, what can you say is the best option for people?
Okay. First of all, let me come at this medically. Then before I speak on the other side of it, even medically, it is not advised to give in to urges as they come, especially sexual urges, because it's different from any other kind of urge. But to explain this, let me come at it. Let me not use sex now. Let's use cocaine, for instance. Cocaine addict or drug addict, they are looking for a high. Now that high comes from a hormone called dopamine. Dopamine is also known as the feel good hormone. It makes you feel good. It's a mush mush hormone. It just makes you feel relaxed, good, and makes you feel proud of yourself. Yeah, so it comes when you take a bottle of Coke, when you take Fanta, when you take chocolate, something sweet. It gives the sugar rush. It releases that dopamine, and it makes the person feel good. The problem with dopamine, as good as it is that when it is being secreted, the frontal lobe of the brain shuts down. Now, it may just sound okay, fair enough, but let me tell you what the frontal lobe of the brain does. It's responsible for me talking right now. It's responsible for me being articulately, being the ability for me to gather my thoughts together and relate it to you as I'm doing now. It's the ability for me to sit down calm. It's the ability for me to sit and calculate my steps. It's the ability for me to reason. All that is found in the frontal lobe of the brain. But when dopamine is in action, or when someone gets sexually aroused, that side of the brain shuts down. That means you do not think rationally anymore. You do not act rationally. During that time, you cannot trust yourself. So have you ever heard people say, I don't even know what just came over me. It was when I was done, I just felt this disgust and all that. It's because that part that's supposed to sit down with you and say, guy, how far? What are you doing? That guy was shot. He was out of the picture. He did not know what was happening. That's why the Bible kept on emphasizing. Paul will just be writing and say, flee, let sin not be once mentioned among you. Then he will come, and of all the sins in the world, he will say especially fornication or sexual immorality. The Bible has a way of saying sin and call sexual sin apart, like it's a different kind of sin. Because that is one sin, as Paul will say. He said, every sin a man sins happens outside the body. But the sin of sexual immorality happens in the body. Because that one is like you are two people at that moment. It's like there is something in you that overrode your normal cognitive sense and took over you at that moment.
So would you say that is what happens to rapists and those that consume alcohol?
Yes, I'm coming there. I'm coming there. I'm coming there. So when this dopamine is released, the question is, what do you do with it at that moment? That is what matters. Before that analytic side of your brain shuts down, you have an open check, and you have an option on what to choose. You either give in to it and lose touch of reality for the meantime, or you resist it and stay in sanity. Those are the two options man have. So when people are being bombarded, like you asked, there are a lot of sexual sins being thrown at our faces every single day. That is the first action. It's called the stimulus. It goes into your eyes, goes at the back of your brain, and begin to massage the part that secretes dopamine. Dopamine is secreted, and then there is this rush of testosterone. You are charged with energy right now. You are looking for a point of release. Now, that is what causes high libido for some, and even for most in our generation right now. That is mostly what causes it, because there are enough triggers. That's why I say I would like to use the cocaine example. Once the first day he takes the cocaine shot or the drug, it took him like 2 hours. Then he got high. Feels good, dopamine. Then he's talking slow, and he's just feeling on cloud 9. Few hours later, the dopamine level drops slowly and it neutralizes. Probably slept it off, wake up with a hangover and say, that was good. Then I'll try that again. So the next day he tries it again, probably in the evening this time around. Maybe he's always doing it by 7 after close of work. So he goes again for a bottle of alcohol or cocaine or whatever it is. And then this time around, it did not take 2 hours. It took 1 hour 45 minutes, and he was there. After 1 or 2 weeks, it wouldn't take him 2 hours. He will get drunk, or he will get addicted to this stuff in a shorter span of time. So the theory goes, the higher the dopamine level you are, the more it crashes down after the high. Dopamine now is supposed to be, let me use this illustration, it's supposed to be at the level of this microphone, like normal dopamine level in your body. If it goes below this, you are depressed. If you go above this, you are just playful, you are everywhere, sugar rush. So it's meant to be at this point, just this neutral point. This is you not depressed, this is you thinking straight, this is you just being rational about life. Once it goes down, you are beginning to get depressed, you are questioning life, you are thinking of suicide and all that. So after this high of yesterday night, he goes to work and the dopamine level stays here. The issue is that the more we keep pushing this dopamine above this level, and the quicker it goes above this level, the more it drops below this level. So after it goes up, if it's trying to reset, it doesn't reset at this level, it resets here. So most of them wake up with this depression, with anger. They are just sad, like they don't even know what's wrong. And the next thing they know is that, you know what, I just need more alcohol. And the more once they take it, after a few bottles, they are here. After the hangover and the next morning, they are not here. They are here, and it's terrible. So this is what forms addiction. So now you are craving. You always want to be at this level because now it doesn't stay at this level. It almost stays at this level. It will take you 2-3 days of abstinence to walk your way up and to bring it back to this level. That is your sweet spot where we are all sane, we are all normal. And that is what dopamine does. Now, having known that, let's bring it now to sex. The more we give attention to these things that gives us high libido, or the more you agree with yourself that, oh, I have high libido, and you keep giving in to the urge to do these things, you shoot your dopamine level here. And that means every time you are done having sex, you do not stay here, you come here. So you will need more sex to just sustain yourself at this level. And that means there will be nothing else that will give you pleasure except that. So I found this definition of addiction very simple. Is that addiction is the narrowing of the things that give you pleasure to one. So that is what it's all about. And the more you give attention to high libido, or you give in to your sex drive, when those dopamines are released and before your cognitive side of your brain shuts down, that is a potential energy. What to do with it at that moment matters a lot to the rest of your life, to the rest of how you will feel for that day. Because after the sex, serotonin is released, which makes you just feel cute and cuddly. You're just lying on the bed, you're good. But after that moment, with consistent practice, the dopamine level do not stay on average anymore. It drops below average. It makes you hunger for more. It makes you more agitated. It makes you more angry. It makes you want to do things fast. And some people begin to sweat a lot, even when they are beginning to fight these things. So those are the effects of high libido, I would say, on the body physically. And that is why the Bible keep encouraging us to flee away from it, to have that self-control. The ability to control self, even medically, is beneficial. Because one of the treatments for depression, that's this low dopamine levels, is your ability to sit down and reason. Now, when you keep reasoning, you are activating that frontal cortex of your brain. When you keep activating it, it keeps you in logic and reason. And the more you engage it, it gets amplified. And once it gets amplified, it uses up this dopamine that is excess in the body. It channels the energy somewhere else. Now you are using it for maths, you are using it for calculation, you are using it to think about your life, you are planning, you are doing this, you are doing that. Women have a better way of doing this naturally. So when a man has this high, he always want to fight or do this or go and, or play ball or engage in activities. Women use it in analyzing things. So they use it to ask questions. What are we going to eat this evening? A man don't sit down to ask that. Once he feels the rush, he goes out to do something. A woman will sit down and say, okay, what will we eat? Okay, I have just 2 cups of rice. How will I feed 4 people with that? And then she's thinking. She's diverting the energy. He comes back. He wants to have sex. She's not in the mood. She's used up her dopamine level. He comes with enough. Because even the act of exercise has a way of also releasing dopamine as a reward for having a good exercise. So it's like a loop. It keeps coming back. But the ability to stay in self-control, even medically, is a sweet spot to be, and it keeps the dopamine level at a very good average.
Okay. So talking about keeping the dopamine in a stable state. Let me put it that way.
Yes.
Not distorting it, because you are allowed to just maintain it on its stable state. And I always say, everything that we have, God have designed it for our own enjoyment.
Yeah.
It's just that man, in his own curiosity, he likes exploring, experimenting. So sometimes we do that thinking we want to help God to create certain things, not knowing that we are using that to destroy original God's plan.
Yes.
You understand? And that starts not now. It started since Adam and Eve destroyed the original plan, and
Sure.
then God sent us a remedy, which is Jesus Christ, to come and create balance, to show us, okay, this is how the whole pattern supposed to be. This is how God wants you to live initially. But because of your curiosity, because of your selfishness, because of your greed, you chose that part. But because He's loving, He's caring, He decided to send His only begotten Son to come and die for us to create that balance. Now we are talking balance. It's there. It can be high. What are you supposed to do? And that's why Paul is talking about self-control.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Self-control. Yes, it's there. I know that it's there. And one of the reasons why Christ came is so that man will not find excuse, because He came in flesh,
Yeah.
but fully God.
True.
But still yet He overcame all of those obstacles that today as a man you can say no. Because I hear people say, after all, He's God.
Sure.
Yes, you are saying He came in flesh, but He's God. That is why He could maybe easily navigate His way and stuff. But that's the reason why earlier I was saying people look for certain things just to look for excuses for their frivolous life, their lifestyle, and that's why someone will say, is there in me, His energy is God that created, so what do you want me to do with it? And they go ahead doing all sort of crazy things. Okay, this is what I want to say. Now, that thing is being created and is supposed, original God's plan, to be enjoyed by married couple, right?
Yeah.
There are some that they don't have problem with this.
True.
Married, they enjoy it.
Yeah.
But as I'm talking today, there are some that it becomes a problem to them in the issue of how to manage it. Some is ignorant. Some, they just choose that path to be frivolous with their pattern.
True.
You understand? So I want us to look at the married. Yes, it's free, you can enjoy it. And that's why you hear a man will say, the woman is my own. Whether in the morning or in the afternoon, name it. Some will just give you, and then they don't care. As long as it's there, the woman is just like an object, just like a bucket that you fetch and go to bathroom. You fetch water and go to bathroom, and then you get what I mean.
Yeah.
And then the woman doesn't even have a place. So you will just see that something is missing. In this kind of a scenario, how can we create balance? So that even at that, yes, it's something that God have created that we should enjoy. And He said, our body, if you are married, your body is no longer yours. You share it, the both of you. But in this case, someone has a high whatever, and then the other one, somehow, let me use this word, is being tormented. You understand? Is being tormented, either knowingly or unknowingly.
Yeah.
So how can we create that balance so that, yes, we'll have that understanding, in that aspect before we'll talk of the singles.
Okay, before you answer, I would like to add that in the marital aspect, they say when you're single, you have to exercise self-control. But
Sure.
now you're married and you know that, okay, it's okay, it's good. And he spoke about if one of the partner has a high libido, the high sex drive, and the other one probably has a low one or not as high as his, in a case where you feel tormented, what do you do? And then in a case where you're always getting a no, and you're feeling rejected, what do you do? Because a lot of instances, it results to adultery. Because I'm not getting what I want, so let me go out and get it out there as much as I want.
I was going to ask, you're talking about self-control, then you said that, but when you're married, you're allowed to. But does that also mean that there's no
There should
self-control?
not be self-control there.
There should be. When I say allowed to, I mean compared to being single.
Sure.
Yeah, so it results to adultery in a lot of cases. Whether the lady or the man, it is vice versa. Like you find them going out, getting what they want. So how do you manage it? How do you can't reduce yours and she can't increase hers, or
Yeah.
Very
yeah.
well,
Start from the medical angle.
yes, the basic thing there is finding a balance. Is
Mm.
always finding a balance. And trust me, this is a very sensitive issue, and
Yeah.
it's a very real issue actually,
Mm.
because in the hospitals we've seen men always coming to us sometimes and saying, okay, if there's a drug they could take, because well, it seems like their sexual urges are higher than that of their wives, and they don't want to cheat, but they can't help themselves. And it's a real problem, because there are good men out there, in as much as we all try to show that okay, all men are just demons. No, there are actually good men that
Sure.
they
Sure.
really don't go outside marriage, and they really love their wives, and if she says no, they respect her.
Mm.
But the issue is that they have this reserved energy, and what to do with it. So I'm very particular about this. Is I've seen it break homes. I've been having to work in this field. You get to see a lot of things, from a lot of people, and it's really heartbreaking, because we could sit here and talk and just think it's a laughing issue, but it's a very deeply, somebody is being pained with this right now somewhere. So I don't take it lightly, actually, I for one. But coming medically, both medically and spiritually, I will always say the best result is still always what the Bible would say. But them come at it from the medical side, so maybe we'll get the perspective. They are husband and wife, so by law they are legally bound to each other, and they should have sex with each other. But one keeps getting high sexual drive than the other. First of all, we often counsel. Sometimes these are some of the things we should talk about before marrying. I know sometimes the church overlook this. We talk
Okay,
about
saying this, that is what the youth are saying now, that they don't want that. That is why they don't want to talk about it. They want to practice it so that they will know.
no. Okay, no,
That is real. That's
yes,
what
yes,
is
no,
happening.
it's
That's
true,
the
it's true.
conversation.
Very
That was
true.
the conversation
understand,
there.
I
So
understand
I
that.
want us to just continue. But
Yes.
I just ask this so that later will come.
Yes. Well, we all grew up from our youth up,
Mm.
and we all know ourselves. That's the truth. As I was establishing earlier, some people think the introverts are more. They don't have more sex drive, but studies have shown that they have more. So for the fact that somebody is quiet, or somebody is reserved, or somebody is hyperactive or everywhere, it doesn't tell the person's sexual state. High libido, it's more a brain function. It's more mental than it is physical,
Physical.
as I said earlier. So that means it's something very personal to you. Only you know how much you think about sex in a day.
Mm.
Only you know. We could come and laugh about it and read Bible and do the Bible study and pray all night and all that, but it doesn't change the fact that in your brain there is this part that is always seated with sex. It doesn't need you to practice it for you to know this fact about yourself. That is where I fault the youth of today, which say they must practice it. It's not something you must practice. You could end up thinking you will go and practice. Let me not say that on TV. Okay, but you might end up practicing and realize that you are not even what you think you are.
Mm.
You are even less than what you think you are.
Mm.
Where it really resides, that's why I was particular in when defining the topic in the beginning. It is more mental than it is physical. It's how much you think about it. Some men could have sex for 2 hours. We've seen that in the hospital. The wife complained. Maybe he could have sex with his wife for the span of 2 hours. Some men would not have sex for 2 hours straight. They could last for 5 minutes, but in a day they could have it like 8 times. One person could have a stretch, but once, maybe once in a week, once in a month. So these are things that you need to vary. So probably those ones, most times they don't think about it too much, but when they have the opportunity, they tend to last longer, but it's not something they do frequently. Those that think about it frequently tend to maybe last shorter, but the thought is they could do it frequently. So the definition of libido, it's slanty in that sense now, to even define it. But again, medically, we always advise is always to find a balance, especially if you are married. Learn one another rhythms. You have to know what works and what do not work. One other thing to kill, even medically, is in the books, it's written. We have to kill selfishness. You have to know that sex is matter of two and not one. If not, we could as well just tell you, okay, go get a prostitute and just do, and when you are done, then that's all. So there is a difference between that and really having union with your wife. You are not just wanting to reach orgasm. You are trying to come together in union. In that case, you do not have to be selfish. That's where you imply self-control. Self-control was not written for only the singles. It also implies deeply and even more in marriage. Because after marriage, sometimes the women get done. They don't.
Self-control is a lifetime practice.
It's a lifetime practice.
So it even starts when you are single, because
Exactly.
that's where you even exhibit
Exactly.
it.
So if you are letting loose as a youth or as a teenager,
then be rest assured.
you cannot. Miles Monroe always say this: no miracle happens at the altar of wedding. There is no transformation. It's the same you that was single with the same habits that translates in marriage. No miracle happen at the altar. If you have a high sex drive before marriage, it doesn't mean you have low sex drive after marriage. So these are the things to factor in. And why I say we should talk about this, even while single, it's good to sit down and talk about it. If you have a spouse you need to get married to, you just say, okay, this is how much I think about sex. This is how much I think I can do it. It doesn't mean you practice it. Practicing it absolutely out of it has nothing to do with the whole thing. Even medically speaking, it has nothing. How much is it in your head? You speak about it. Then by the time you begin to hear her point of view also on how much or all this, you begin to know where you stand. And if you've been a good Christian from your youth, that means you've curtailed yourself from the time you began to have sexual urges up to now. Let's say you are 25 or you are 29. You have built stamina to resist the urges. Imagine not having sex from birth to 29 and you are getting married. What great restraint have you put on yourself? You've not been masturbating, you've not been promiscuous, you've pulled yourself back so much so that even now when you're getting married, it's easy for you. What the problem of most marriages that I often see from my counseling with a lot of these people is this. We ask these questions before you got married. How was your sex life? And you always trace those problems back to those points. Those people oftentimes have high sexual activities before marriage. And here they are marrying this woman who probably doesn't mind too much about it. And they are trying to turn her into that figure that they were before.
They want a miracle.
They wanted a miracle. Or most people that do masturbate, they do it anytime they want. And now they are trying to turn their wife into this porn website that they visit anytime they are aroused. And it doesn't work that way. This is a full-fledged human being with right will emotions. You cannot just turn the person overnight into something you want.
Can we say that's wickedness?
Yes, it's wickedness.
In a way.
I love the word you use,
man.
torture. Yes, you torture. Yes, but on the flip side of it also, you could actually derive pleasure in that. So if you are this kind of person that maybe you have low libido, as we will call it, it's not a right to now say you deny your partner because you don't feel like it. So
you're not being considerate.
You're not being considerate. That also is inconsiderate. It's also torture.
So what you're saying is that you need to find a meeting point.
A meeting point, a balance. That is the key. So if you are married, you have to know how to. I'm speaking medically now. Forgive my terms. You have to know how to seduce your husband. You have to know what to wear to cause that arousal in him, so you don't get tortured. If not, you'd be with, for instance, the woman will have all this drive for sex. The man is not just in the mood. He's thinking about business. He's planning a business trip. He's going here. He's going there. And sometimes he travels 2 weeks before he comes back. And the only time he's back, he's too tired to even approach his wife. And it's a real problem in real families today. So the woman has to know, since now we have learned that it is a mental thing, it makes your work easy. That means you don't need to do anything to press him into it. Work on his psyche. What do you tell him when you call him? What are the images of you does he have in his head? Are you making yourself desirable for him? You do not dress. In fact, the ability for you to cover up is a good sign of good sexual prospect. Let me explain. Most people think it's by exposing the body that you get sexually aroused. But that hasn't worked for the Americans that sold us the idea. They sold the idea of opening your chest, showing a woman's cleavage and all that, wearing tight clothing. But now, they did that in America hundreds of years ago, until it got to the point where normal men would see a woman's cleavage and wouldn't get aroused. So what is the next thing? They begin to look at a man and get aroused by a man. Homosexuality comes in by default.
Wow.
Because what God created to attract the male has been too abused. So
Has been normalized.
Has been normalized. So even when the man sees it, there's no release of dopamine. It's just like me seeing a cup.
So they have to look for alternatives.
So they look for alternative. So the ability for a woman to cover her body, the day the man sees it, every dopamine in his head is released, is let loose. And then the drive towards the wife is there. So that's what we advise medically. You cover up. The ability to starve from it is going to be a driving force for it tomorrow. So your conversations with him, your talk with him, your manner of dressing with him. So there are days you expose to get it, and there are days you cover up also to get it.
It's just understanding
It's
the man's
understanding
psyche.
the mindset that he is. Or same thing for the man. You have to know what turns the woman on, your wife on, so that she's not in the mood and you are just trying to, okay, it's my body, I paid, or all those funny things that men do say. You have to know what works and be subtle about it. You come gentle with it. If she like, come gentle. If she like gifts or movies or being touched, or you have to know her love language, what works for her. Forget that she says she's tired. A woman has tremendous abilities that science haven't finished unraveling. Trust me. So no matter how tired she is, there is a manner you come. I cannot begin to give us a code now or 10 steps now because everybody is different. You married your wife, you know what works. What will work for A wouldn't work for B. So you have to know what works and be gentle about it. Be considerate. If it doesn't work, be okay that it doesn't work. Rest in it. Sometimes, yes, sleep could be difficult. I think married people will understand. Sleep, deprived sex, sleep will be difficult. It doesn't end up to in good night sleep. You keep turning on the bed until
the demon suggestions will start coming.
the demon suggestion comes.
You bought her. She's your wife.
It's your wife.
This is what the Bible says. She
You
want
own
to
her.
try my ego. The ego will start like,
Good.
and then
that's
suggestion
what
will start
results-
coming.
That's what
So-
results to rape.
That's what
In
results.
some
Yes,
cases,
In
you're
some
married
cases.
to
most
someone,
men
but you're
rape-
raping.
They rape their wives. True. Most
Yeah.
men rape their wife, but it shouldn't be so.
It shouldn't.
You find out what works. You know how to navigate about it. And if nothing is working for the moment, then revert back to the first thing I began to say. Energy is a whole law of physics. These are things that have been proven and found to work. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed from one form to another. So if you have this drive, and perhaps your wife is not around or your husband is not around, or they are not in the mood, perhaps her daddy died, or she lost a loved one, it would be very inconsiderate of you to
Or
say
she's
you want to
sick.
have your way at that point. So you have this energy. Know that you cannot destroy it. The issue is that if you stay that it must be sex, that is when you will torment yourself.
Of course.
But that energy can be transformed to another form. What can you do else with that energy? If it means you
If you are a man, you can help her wash plates.
you wash plate. If it
And
means you
then
getting a
cook.
weight lift in your house,
That you
carry
see.
the weight when you lift 50. Trust me, all those urges they will dissipate.
Use energy.
Okay.
Dissipate it.
Yeah.
And I would
Yes.
like to
Okay.
say that
Yeah.
in compromising in a marital state, you have to be patient.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not like you say, okay, this is what we're agreeing, this is what we're going to do, and it's an automatic thing. You have to be patient, just like an alcoholic. If he says, I want to stop drinking, it doesn't mean immediately
Stop.
he would be taken to the hospital.
Sure.
So it has to be a gradual step. So you have to be patient with her and be willing to help her. Let's say you are the one with the high libido, you have to be patient and be willing to help her go through the process. And who knows, she may be in the same stage with you at the end
Yeah,
of the
sure,
day.
sure. I agree with you. As long as there is good communication,
Yes.
as long as there's
Constant,
good
consistent
communication, there is understanding. And you see, the Bible have settled this, because the Bible says, "Do unto others what you want others to do unto you." So that just settled all that we are saying, because it's just that man is greedy, man is selfish, by default. But like I said, the Bible always there to create that balance. That is why if you are obeying the word of God, it is difficult for the world to understand what kind of man are you, because they see that the world is giving, all the people are pushing, are rushing, in the other part, but you are going the other side. They'll be like, is this person from this world? Why is this person living this way? And believe me, when they ask you, what's your secret, and you say Jesus, they say, oh, okay, no wonder, no wonder. So that is why the Bible set us apart, because he tells us, do unto others what you want them to do unto you. He said we should be considerate. He said we should love one another, and then also try our possible best to see that we'll help each other to grow. If you have that, if you have somebody in your mind, talk more like the person is your woman, or the person is your man, and you mean well, you can't torment the person. Even by words, you can't say something that it will torment that person emotionally, or talk about physically or something. So I believe that will really help us if we turn our mind to the Bible, what the Bible say. Quickly, I just want to say this, even though Martha is just doing me this. Forget Reverend Salah is not coming. You understand? So don't worry. Quickly, I just want us to look at the angle of the young ones. You hear excuses left, right, center. Like I said earlier, that's when you hear somebody said, yes, we need to talk with my woman, I need to talk with my man, and we have to practice it. I have to know her capacity. She have to know, she want to know his capacity and the rest. And then at the end of the day, you mentioned something, and my fear is that after effect, those effects that you just mentioned, that you see when you trace back to the single life, you find that maybe she's engaged in different kind of sexual activity with different kind of people, and now you are dealing with one person. You understand? Or the man is engaged with different kind of women, now he's dealing with one, so he just feel like she's not just enough, she's not it, because already in his mind there are so many pictures stored there. Please, can you just talk to one youth out there?
I actually wanted to add something else. Oh no, it's skipping my mind. All right, so okay, I remember now. I also wanted to add that from the angle that he's coming as well, a lot of times you also find scenarios where people will say that because we are talking about it, you said that you should talk about it. So someone says, some people would say that because we are talking about it, it tilts our thoughts towards it so much more that it arouses. Yes. So what is the limit? How exactly do you approach this talking you're talking about?
Okay. Let me start with your question.
Communication skills come
before
in
I
here.
proceed. Yeah, it depends. The Bible says something. The Bible says, to the pure all things are pure, and to the perverse all things will be perverse. The truth is that you can be responsible for what you say. You cannot be responsible for how it is being heard. So that being said, you are not responsible for how the other person perceives it. Sometimes you could just want to just talk about it, and it is leading the other person into perversion. So you have to also know what kind of person perhaps you are in a relationship with. And it's not something we talk about every day. So it's just a one-time thing. So I believe it's a harmless thing. It's a harmless thing, and I said that also from the medical point of view. It's very important medically to speak about these things, talk about them. We are not talking about them in a romantic sense of view. I mean, if you set the tone for the devil, of course he will come. You can't be alone in the room with blue lights and sweet smelling perfume and slow music on the background, and you are meeting the lady you want to marry, and you are telling her, okay, how long could you are tempting the devil to tempt you. You don't do that there. You look for an open place. Probably you could sit in front of your pastor in one of the counseling sessions and say, okay, this is this. The devil can't come there and perverse your thoughts at that moment. So how you talk about it, where you talk about it matters a lot. And please, as I said, it's for married people. But to answer your question, for the young people, I would say this. I spoke about dopamine earlier, but that's not all the hormone involved in high libido. There is one which is very important, which I think is even very important, which is most important, which is oxytocin. Perhaps you've heard about it. It's another name for it. It's called the bonding hormone or the mush mush hormone. When a mother gives birth to a child, first thing they take the child, cut the umbilical cord, and gives the child to the mother. Now that first contact of skin to skin they have with the mom, the child first gaze is the mother, and the mother looks at the child. At that moment, in the child and both the mother, there's a hormone called oxytocin that is secreted, which causes a bonding. It's kind of like a soul tie. It makes that even when he grows up, you can talk anything about his father. It's almost like he doesn't care about the dad. But you talk about his mom, it's like there is this natural reaction that I want to slap you. You get that comes from the bonding that happens in oxytocin. Science has not yet fully come to grasp how that happens scientifically, but it does happen, and it's scientifically proven. It bonds you with somebody. Funny enough, when you have sex with someone, at some point that hormone gets secreted. That means it causes a bonding between you and whatever or whoever.
Would you say the same thing for prostitutes?
Whatever.
Because they may
whatever,
barely remember
whoever.
faces of people they've encountered.
Those are that is I'm coming there. But for normal human beings, whatever or whoever you are having that intercourse with, it causes that bonding. So please, for the young people, it's very dangerous and it's difficult to break. Once oxytocin is secreted, it takes a lot for you to detach from. Science have even proven that separate a 9-month-old baby from the mom. 16 years after, he doesn't know her. He has never grown up to know her. When the day he sees her, it's like there is this. Do I know you somewhere? And that is a real phenomenon. So people who masturbate a lot have created this bond with whatever object they are doing that with. People that do it with a lot of people create this bond. So you hear ladies say, I don't know, I had sex with this guy for the first time. He was my first guy, and I found it difficult to break up with him. Why was that? Because there was a rush of oxytocin at that moment, and it created a bonding. So this is a very dangerous place to play. High libido does not mean high exploitation. You should pull yourself into self-control, because what you bond with, you might just find yourself bonding with something for life that you do not want to.
That will destroy your
that
future.
will destroy you. So you are married and you don't want to cheat, but you are attached to this other lady. That is why they keep advising us, no sex before marriage. Because after marriage, it doesn't mean that, except God has in his infinite mercy comes and wipe out that oxytocin you created with a lot of the people you had sex with. If not, it's still there even after marriage. You went to the altar, you said, God, this is the person I want to marry. It doesn't mean that when you see that sister tomorrow, you wouldn't feel something for her still. So it's very important.
It is very important.
True.
Pastor Jerry,
We've given him this title.
honestly, we are very, very grateful, and we thank you for your time.
True.
Despite your schedule, but we just give you a short notice and you are here.
Always a
Honestly, we appreciate you.
pleasure. Always a
Thank
And we
you.
hope that next time when we call you, you come and do justice to whatever topic we will give you.
pleasure. Anytime, sir.
be rest assured that we'll definitely call you.
We'll look for
Anytime,
more.
sir.
Yeah.
We'll
And
look for more.
Prudence, thank you.
Thank
Jemima,
you.
thank you for doing this with
Thank
me.
you.
And for you out there, we sincerely appreciate you giving us your time, staying with us up to this time. And then for those that follow us and then your comment and your likes, we sincerely appreciate. That's the much we can take, and we hope that someone may have picked something. Thank you, the Equa executive, the crew. We sincerely appreciate you, for allowing us to go live, without hitches. God bless all of us. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow, same time, same station. Bye bye for now.